Paul, you seem to use a lot of rammed earth in your projects. Can you tell us the pros and cons of rammed earth?
So I do use a lot of rammed earth. I really like the material. It's a natural material. It's an ancient technique. You know, it's adobe construction. It is just dirt, stabilised somehow. We now stabilise it with a cement, and it's just rammed between forms. So it's an eco-friendly product because it is just that material. So it's non-toxic, and that is the finish that you get. The walls are thick, so they have this wonderful solidity to them. It's got a great thermal mass. It's fairly easy to build. People, there are owner builders that learn how to do it and then do it themselves. But it just has this wonderful solid handmade feel to it. That's what I like about it. The downside, I guess, of it is you need to like it. You need to see it and like it, because that is the finish. It's a little bit rustic. It's not, plastered walls. That's the finish you get. And like a lot of those handmade things, that is the beauty of it. But it's also, that's what you end up with. So I've seen rammed earth wall where a leaf has fallen into the form and the leaf is imprinted in the wall. Some people don't like that. I love it. It's the mark of the material, right? So, but that, you get what it is. It has a wonderful thermal mass, as I say. It's non-toxic, eco-friendly, and cost-wise, it's probably the same as double brick. But you have to know the material and like that material.
Are there like different colour options, or because I've seen a lot of rammed earth which is like a dark red?
Yeah. Good question. It all depends on the materials you're using. So I quite like the limestone. In Perth or the southwest of Australia, it's kind of an indigenous material, and that is just using crushed limestone and some cement to stabilise it. We've used crushed brick, recycled brick. Some people, I've seen river shale used to make it grey. You can also put waves in it. There are examples of where different colour sand has been used in it to create a wave and a pattern in it. But just it gets down to the material you're using in it. It's all stabilised with cement. I've used some which is limestone and then say some gin red sand to give it a sort of a more of a pinky colour. Or as I say, crushed brick. There's crushed concrete now used in it. It gives it a lot more of a concrete look to it. So there's a lot of options with the colour.
And where do people get the materials from to build these rammed earth walls?
So depending what colour you want, but the most common one is either the red gravel, which basically comes from a quarry, and the same with the limestone. It's from the base of a limestone quarry, and then it's crushed. It's then crushed. And so the way it's built is that there are forms built, like you'd have in concrete. There are two layers of timber, 300 millimetres apart, and then the soil is mixed on site, the material is mixed on site, and then it's put into the form, and then it's rammed. Either traditionally it was rammed by hand, but now they're pneumatic rammers that push it down.
And you mentioned a 300 millimetre thickness. Is that the standard thickness or the only thickness you can have?
No, you can vary that, but it's pretty well the standard thickness to structurally and the size of most of the forms.
Okay. And so what happens when it rains for the first time after the wall's built? Does it start falling apart and crumbling? Or?
No, they're stabilised. So basically it's a weak concrete. It's most of what we're specifying is 10 MPa. Concrete in your floor step might be 30 MPa. It's the crushing strength. So it is. The project we have in front of us is a model of a project that was done over 30 years. It looks as good as it did on the day it was built. You're often if you're building out a cut limestone, you get some black mould on a black dirt on it. This project doesn't have any of that. So it's still standing. Nowadays I think the fact that it is so dense when it's rammed, and they use a waterproofing additive within the mix, because there's some water added to it, and it's a waterproofing additive. It beads off. The water just beads off the outside of it.
So that means that the water from the outside won't soak in and work its way through.
It shouldn't penetrate unless there's there's no more issues than you have with any other wall. There could be an issue with a window or something like that, but it shouldn't penetrate the wall.
And so how long ago did you say this house was built?
1993.
And it's still, have you seen it recently? Have you been around it?
I go there regularly. The people are still living there. They still love it. They become friends. I go there regularly. Look, at the time, this won, a big architectural award and won an environmental award. It was the first house in Perth to have a solar buyback scheme. So it was quite innovative for its time. And the use of the rammed earth also is an environmental part of it.
So does the whole house have to be built with rammed earth?
No, absolutely not. So we've done projects where it's actually a good retaining wall. We've done, because you just reinforce it and it's smooth. So we've done them where they're just a basement, for example, or a cellar had a rammed earth is lovely. But I've done other projects where the lower level is in rammed earth and the other level might be in another material like a timber cladding, or it could be a face brick or something like that. And that helps breaks up the big walls.
Even though it seems like rammed earth has been around for a long time, can anybody do it, or do you need a special builder? Or
again, good question. So there are specialist rammed earth contractors that are, most of them are doing it for a long time, that are very good. So the contractor works for the builder, and the builder supervises and organises. So you probably want a builder that's familiar with rammed earth, that's used it before. But at the end of the day, it's the rammed earth contractor, the specific rammed earth contractor, and that's what he does rammed earth. He builds the walls. The product's mixed on site, so you need some space. It's quite rudimentary the way it's done, and it's labour intensive. But that's one of the things I like about it. It's just this ancient technique, and it's non-toxic, and it's very, very environmentally friendly.
And so, it is an ancient technique.
Yes.
But can we modernise it a little bit and say insulate it?
Yes, you can. I know of projects that there's a layer of insulation down the middle of the wall. Sometimes the wall's made a bit thicker, and then they ram either side of it. It would increase the R value a lot. I don't think there's a lot of data on it, but I have known of walls that have been built with insulation in them.
And is it something that you would recommend? Or?
I'd like to see that pursued further. Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned before that it is an ancient material, and it is, it's been around for a really long time in Australia, but even longer overseas.
Yeah.
Why would someone choose that when there's, modern walls with modern features?
So brickwork's been around a long time. I think rammed earth has been, particularly over the last 30, 40 years, has been developed a lot in the formwork, in the mixes that they use, in the structural strength of them. There's been a lot of research on the cement content. So it's basically not unlike a concrete wall. I like the handmade. I like the handmade quality to it. It's not as slick as a plastered wall. And there are downsides to that as well. So the rammed earth is the final finish. So not as easy to patch. If you've got a plastered brick wall and you drill a hole in it, or something that gets damaged, it can be patched and painted. Rammed earth is the final finish. So you have to be very, very aware of that. When you're building it, you have to know where your power points are going and those kind of things. Because they're built into it. They're not done afterwards. So there's, as I mentioned, you really have to know the material, be familiar with it, and be happy to build with it. It's not, and the other thing I've got to mention is you've got to design with it. It's not something you can at the last minute go, I've got this house, it's meant to be designed out of brick, I'll now do it out of rammed earth. You've got to consider the control joints, the length of the wall, the thickness of the wall, so you've got to design with it. You've got to decide that early.
So Paul, I've seen a lot of rammed earth, and I actually personally quite like the look, but I've always been a little bit concerned of two things, and so you've just addressed one of them, which is the pictures or hanging hooks or drilling holes in the wall.
Yeah.
So is there a way around that? Do you hang some sort of picture rails or something like that? Or?
Absolutely. So I've had people ask me about the solidity of the wall. You know, is it a sandcastle that's going to fall apart when it first rains? No, it's not. It's basically like a concrete. So it's very, very solid. It feels solid, you know, and it is thicker. It's thicker than most brick walls. I like it myself. I know it's not for everybody, so you've got to like the material. In terms of things like picture rails, you can build a picture rail into the edge of the ceiling if you like, and then hang them from there. But you've got to consider all those things during the design process.
And that's obviously something that you do because you have the experience.
Yeah, I've done a lot of rammed earth, and you know, like anything else, the more you do, the more experience you get at it, and the better you get at it.
So my next house, I should feel at ease building with rammed earth?
Definitely.